Welcome to The Printer's Edge with LaManna, a podcast about how to sell, buy, or build a printing business. Now here are your hosts, LaManna and Ken Okel.
You are listening to The Printer's Edge podcast. Hi, I am Ken Okel. Welcome. As always, we are brought to you by the LaManna Alliance. And of course, joining me for this podcast is Mr. LaManna of the LaManna Alliance. Rock, thanks so much for being here.
You're welcome. Very excited.
As you know, Rock has his finger on the pulse of the printing industry, and that gives him an opportunity to really get a bunch of case studies. So today you're going to hear about two of them, and these are recent stories, recent case studies. The first one, it's a good outcome. The second one, a less good outcome. So, Rock, why don't you get us started?
Bottom line is we're going to be talking about evaluation.
Gotcha.
Evaluation of a business. Here's a printer that's been second generation, looking for a potential successor internally, and wanted to have a better idea of the valuation of the company. And what was motivating him was his age, in his mid-50s, and his wife and family wanted to basically move out of the country to go to her homeland. I was speaking at a printing trade association, and he was aware of it, and one of the event planners had connected me with them because it's very sensitive when you talk about valuations, discreet, confidentiality, and so on. And at the same time, it's this thought process was maybe 3 to 5 years internally in which way to go. I met with the client, got to have a better understanding and trust, and he was reading a lot of my articles and my blog and so on over the years. So he was familiar with me, but at the same time, he wanted to make sure that there was the chemistry there and the trust there to proceed with evaluation. So within 2 weeks of that time, and that was in April, I believe it was in April, and by June, we had a valuation process moving along. And then within 30 days, we had the valuation. And then all of a sudden, I wasn't hearing of the outcome. But he was happy with the process, happy with the valuation. But at the same time, not knowing, he was also in negotiations with some of his employees of acquiring the business. So that did not work out. So afterwards, I just kept in touch with him, seeing if there's anything I could do, if he was interested in a broker, a referral broker that specialized in printing and so on. So we had that as a backup plan. But the client was definitely interested in selling the business himself. So that was fine. I just kind of carried the ball along, gave him some insight on which way to go and so on. So eventually, the decision was made to sell the business in the last quarter of 2016. And what was interesting was the private equity group bought his business. That was not part of the discussion back in April. And his competitor was acquired. He approached his competitor in the same region, and they started a dialogue, and the success was basically a roll-up. And so it actually worked out for everybody. So there you go. The family is on its way out of the country. He was very happy with the valuation because the valuation was within 5% of the overall market value. Valuations are very critical for both the buyer and the seller to be credible. And to have a third-party valuation done is very objective for both parties. So the discussion is what's fair. The chemistry was there between the buyer and the seller, and the internal management that was being looked at, it all worked out for them because there was a success plan with the new owner. They wanted to retain the existing management and so on. So overall, everybody's happy. So to me, that's a success story. When everyone's happy with a transaction, you never know what's going to happen. And I'm very proud that the seller was realistic in his game plan, took step by step, was very patient during the transaction process, Real estate was involved. I mean, this is a pretty good sized deal, probably the biggest deal for them to be able to continue on to do the family objectives. So that's basically the success story.
As you mentioned, the seller had certain characteristics that I think probably made that person successful in the printing business. But it sounds like from what you told me that this was someone who liked to do their homework, who had realistic expectations, and I think because of it, had a relatively timely sale.
Yes.
That success was not just a fluke in this situation.
I mean, how I looked at it basically was the adjustments. Our client, was very open to adjust to the situation because here, ultimately, he wanted to sell it to his employees, and it didn't work out. It was a financial decision on the buying of the internal management that couldn't be worked out. And so here he was quickly adjusted the situation, took the responsibility of approaching the competitor in this case, not knowing their overall situation. But it all started out with the valuation, the family motivation, and overall, I feel great when it's a win-win-win. Everybody wins, the buyer, the seller, and the customer base. And to me, it's a sustainability because it's actually a stronger company combined with this type of situation. Plus, the future is at the point where this company is basically double the size because of the acquisition and a combination of the three, the two manufacturing operations, plus with the emphasis of financial growth for the buyer.
Rock, so this was really a great case study because it showed us someone who had a vision, had a plan, but then when things didn't quite work out, he was able to adjust and it came out to be a successful outcome for everyone. So great case study there. We're going to get to another case study in just a moment. This one, slightly different outcome. We're just going to preview it like that. But for now, I want to remind you that this podcast is brought to you by the LaManna Alliance. Rock LaManna is that connector in the printing industry where he's able to help you, whether you want to buy, sell, or maybe adjust, retool your printing business. Rock, I understand you have a lot of resources on your website that can help people just kind of find their way in the printing business.
Yes. We spent a lot of time and effort in these, and it basically true stories, case studies, facts, experiences, and so on. And it always seems like we're in real time when people are looking for situations that are similar to theirs. We customize the situation. We come up with concepts and experiences of the past and so on. And once again, everything is discreet, confidential, and it's customized towards each client.
And I understand that you have a newsletter that's very popular for people who want to kind of learn more, maybe dip their toe in a little bit.
Yes, they could quickly subscribe to Rock LaManna's e-news, which is, once again, updated, current information, and it's also talks about what's happening in the marketplace, where I'm going to be that month, what's for sale, what's available, and we're expanding those besides businesses is equipment sales and so on, which is very interesting what's happening.
If someone would like to sign up for that, what should they do?
RockLaManna.com, no obligation, subscribe, and you get this information directly.
So let's continue our discussion of some of these case studies. And like you said, Rock, I like the fact that we're sharing information with people that's kind of hot off the press. Sometimes you hear about successes, but if it's from 30 years ago, it just doesn't match up to today's world. Now we have one. We have the positive outcome. This one, not so much. So, Rock, bring us into your world. Tell us what happened here.
Okay, over the holidays, I usually visit certain areas. And when I do visit family and so on, I walk through 30 to 40 printing operations per year. So I see a lot of facilities. I introduce myself. People know of me, welcome me, and so on. But there's many times when there might not be an opportunity initially Sometimes I look at situations that are 3-4 years out. We don't know. We don't know if it's a family succession, whatever the issue is. But bottom line is I meet with the business owner. And the business owner is always looking for the opportunity to grow their business, to exit their business, or enter into a new marketplace or whatever. And they have challenges. And with those challenges, you need solutions. You at least need strategies or concepts or what ifs. That's what we talk about. So in this particular situation, I was invited to walk through an operation, was not impressed. Overall, very standard finishing operation. But they had a business unit that was not successful that they wanted to show it to me. And they had a piece of equipment that they wanted to divest, or hopefully would divest. But what I realized was it was in direct competition to their clients that they were serving. So I thought, whoa, that's an issue that you need to address. So we started looking at the numbers. I met some of the people in the business unit. We started looking at the equipment and so on. I said, well, what's your objective here? Well, the objective is, Rock, I want to sell that piece of equipment because I'm having problems. I'm losing sales, I'm declining, and I'm losing some very loyal clients because I'm in direct competition. I tried to keep it quiet. I tried to separate it from my primary business, and it did not do very well. The key was, back in the day, they selected the equipment thinking it was a technological advantage for them to get this wide format printer that did not do the job for them. Okay? And with that request, they had to get special equipment. They had to get special system in place. They had to get special people because it didn't really match the technology. And at the same time, it's like running a completely different business. And they weren't accustomed to entrance into this marketplace. And it's very competitive in this region. So in the meantime, they said, Rock, we want to sell it. And here's the purchase order. Here's the background on the equipment and so on. And we were talking about a $2.2 million investment.
Wow.
Some big bucks. So I says, okay, fine. What's it worth? Well, I would like to get $600,000 plus out of it. I says, okay. Where'd you get that number? Well, it's basically my depreciation schedule. He says, oh, okay. You did not get an appraisal. No, we did not. A third-party appraisal? No, we did not. In fact, I don't even know how to do that. I says, listen, I'll take care of that for you. So I went to my contacts that are in the equipment sales business and auctioneers and so on. And by the way, you have to be licensed for something like that. But they are all connected. They understand no matter what piece of equipment you want to buy or sell, information is out there. My resources went to their resources and found out that, hey, there's only 6 of these machines in the world that were sold in the last 10 years. Very interesting. This might be a hell of an advantage, I'm thinking.
Sure.
Well, I'm not a printer myself, but I have a pretty good idea of what these products do or these equipment, what their advantages are and so on. So anyway, we got this appraisal, third-party appraisal. What we didn't realize, and neither did my potential client, was that the equipment was considered obsolete. There was another machine for sale in the marketplace, but the worst part about it was the servicing of these machines were going to be discontinued in March of 2017. Whoa. So that price, asking price of $660, is now third-party appraisal between $90,000 and $150,000.
Huge difference.
Huge difference. And they still have the problem of having that operating costs with people and the overhead and the competition, that my recommendation was sell the business. Sell the business, sell the employees, sell the equipment, basically sell it as an ongoing concern because there was some business there. Okay? So a bigger player may be interested in this. However, they have to understand the equipment's obsolete and it'll never be serviced again. What was the decision? I just sat on it and realized that the potential client decided to continue on with their existing business as is. We'll see what happens over time. The situation here is within a week, we realized this process of divesting equipment is real. It's very specialized. It could be done, but timing is critical. And we talked about planning. This particular organization should have never got into the printing industry without a plan, without some expertise of implementing the plan. And the other issue, which is huge, is the customer base and the game plan of getting into this business without really having any experience.
I think a lot of people fall into that trap where you hear about the shiny new object, but if you don't do the homework and know the potential of the equipment, it could really cost you.
It's scary. It's scary, and how I look at it right now, it's going to be very interesting how this all rolls out. And I'm concerned because you talk about people. You talk about people, you talk about business. I care about sustainability of companies continuing on. If the leaders are not making the right decisions for the future of the organization, and I've always been basically thought about a 10-year plan. But guess what? When you're in your 60s and 70s, 10 years out, you're in your 70s and your 80s. And that's a very, very difficult time to grow a business if you don't have a plan or a succession plan or even an estate plan.
Really, if someone's looking at that six-figure investment into equipment, it really does pay if they don't have the background or the expertise to get that third-party help to help them have a plan and a vision and just help them decide whether they should buy or hold off.
It's very interesting about what's happening to the marketplace, and it's happening so fast, and technology is out there, and the leaders of today are actually so far ahead when it comes down to looking at the opportunities, having the people, having the talent, having a plan, how to execute the plan, and the bottom line here is the cash. You have to have cash to make things happen. And you have to be aware if the cash isn't there, you need to know when to cut loose and move on to other opportunities.
If you've enjoyed this episode of the Printer's Edge podcast, then I suggest you go onto iTunes, check out past episodes, and then subscribe. You'll never miss an episode. So we hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Printer's Edge podcast. As always, we want to give you the ability to contact us if you have any questions. So, Rock, what's the best way for people to reach you?
Rock LaManna, RockLamanna.com. Subscribe to my blog. Otherwise, go on LinkedIn, Rock LaManna, link in with me. Either way, I'm also on LNNW. I write the bottom line. There's many ways to get a hold of Rock LaManna.
And for me, if you want to reach me, my name is Ken Okel, Kenokel. So if you go to kenokel.com, you can learn more about me and my speaking programs. And just like Rock, I'm also on LinkedIn under Ken Okel, so feel free to connect there. So that's all the time we have for now. So, Rock, I guess the one thing that we always like to say at the end is...
See you in the marketplace.
See you in the marketplace. Take care.
This is the Printer's Edge with Rock LaManna. Thanks for listening.